Welcome to 9:30 a.m. The Answer, home of conservative talk radio, with On the Record with Tiffany and Kevin on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. All right, Tiffany, we have some really, really good special guests today. We have Reginald Ballard, our co-host here for the health session, and then we also have Lorrinda Gray Davis. So she's going to share her story and share some of the stuff that she's working on. Tiffany, I'm going to turn it over to you to interview Lorrinda. So go ahead.
Lorrinda Gray Davis, one of the best transplant advocates that I know. This lady has been on the scene just making sure that transplant voices are heard, and especially right now because we've got a lot going on legislatively with this government. There are all kinds of things happening behind the scenes, and we brought Lorrinda on today to talk to us about the latest with transplant recipients and our testing.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Lorrinda, so let's talk about MALDX and what that means for transplant patients. Can you tell us a little bit about how before we talk about that, tell us a little bit about you and your story.
Okay, so my name is Lorrinda Gray Davis, and I had a liver transplant 5 years ago. And in 2005, I started having some issues with high liver enzymes, and then the doctors never could figure it out. And in 2014, I was going to a dermatologist because I kept having rashes happen. You know, I had eczema. And he sent me to a hepatologist, and they said, by the way, you have fatty liver disease. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. And in 2017, I decided, or 2016, in August, I moved back to Oklahoma from Phoenix. And 7 months later, I was in the hospital with end-stage liver disease, stage 4, and was devastated because I didn't know that this was happening. And my doctors, I was not aware, and I was not educated on liver disease.
So what is fatty liver? Because we hear all the time that people have fatty liver. Like that's a big issue here in Texas, is fatty liver. And nobody really goes beyond telling you that you have fatty liver. They don't say, oh, and it could end in liver failure. Like I hadn't heard anyone say that.
Yeah, so that's a problem, is fatty liver disease. If you have any liver disease, no matter what it is, genetic, from food, alcohol, hepatitis, excuse me, it all goes to the same thing, which is cirrhosis. And the liver continues to get damaged and it cannot regenerate. And that's when you get into liver failure.
Wow. So people who are walking around with fatty liver disease, when you're told you have fatty liver, are there stages to liver disease? Just like with kidney disease, we got 5 stages to kidney disease. And when somebody tells you that you have kidney disease, like we're dealing with the same thing where they, it's not emphasized what stage you're in. Like, doctors will just say, oh, well, you have it, or we've seen this, but they're not explaining to you what the stage means, how much kidney function you've lost and how much you maintain. Like, was any of that explained to you is it like that with fatty liver? Like, what is that?
Well, with fatty liver, he just told me, hey, stop what you're doing. Don't, if you're drinking, don't have, cut down on drinking. If you're eating, let's start eating healthier, change your diet. And of course, when he says it's not a big deal, then I think, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And I continued to go out and have fun and eat and do all the things that people do. And then I was sick and they said, you have end-stage liver disease. I'm like, what? When did I have stage 1? When did that happen?
Yeah.
And that was really in 2014. So I was not educated on stages. And I don't think some doctors are actually educated on liver disease, because it's not like heart disease where everyone knows.
Yeah.
And so everyone discounts the liver. Well, several months after I was diagnosed, the doctor came in and he said, Miss Gray Davis, you have inoperable liver cancer and you will die if you don't get a liver transplant. And I'm like, what? I look at my aunt. I have all this emotion, tears are streaming down my face, and he leaves. And I asked my aunt, I'm like, what did he say? I said, go get him. Go get him. And she got the doctor. He came back in and he said, Miss Gray Davis, you have inoperable liver cancer and you're going to die if you don't get a transplant. Same thing.
Was that the first time you heard about the cancer part?
Yeah. And I was devastated. I just didn't know what to do. My first thoughts were, I can't do this. This will never happen. I don't know how to get a transplant. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
And that was my thing, is I don't. And so
other than the rash, I mean, did you have any other symptoms? Like, did you feel like bloated or something like that, or tired, or what other symptoms that you signs that you see?
looking back, so it was the looking back where you go, oh, that was a part of it. So I would break out in a random rash, because that's your liver, the toxins building up. My stomach would get distended, but I'd bloat and then would go down. And sometimes, at one point I was like, why do I look like I'm pregnant? And that was fluid building up on my stomach, but I didn't know that. I was, it's not a big deal. I'm just bloated this week, So I discounted the signs because I was not educated that that's a sign of liver disease.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Also, were you going to the doctor at that time? Were you getting labs? Was there, because we always get these labs and you get them back and I don't even know what they mean half the time, right? In the past, but now I'm more knowledgeable about what to look for. But was that happening in that process? Like,
was your doctor ordering extra labs
were you getting
and just
labs,
like,
extra labs or stuff like that?
After I was told I had fatty liver and it wasn't a big deal, I wasn't going to the doctor because it wasn't a big deal. I moved.
Yeah.
I moved to Oklahoma, and then I wasn't feeling good, and I was like, something's wrong. And I called my boss and said, I'm going to the emergency room, and I did. And that's when they said, hey, there's a problem here. And they sent me to have a paracentesis, to have fluid drained, and I had pancreatitis. I mean, it was just a lot of stuff at one time.
Was there anything? Go ahead.
The yellow eyes? You didn't have the yellow?
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
So the symptoms that you say, oh, that's liver disease.
Right.
I didn't see, but I can look at someone now and go, oh, they got some stuff going on, because I know the signs.
Because you know the sign. That's how it was with me with asthma. When I had asthma as a kid, I used to tell, looking at somebody, that guy got asthma. He has asthma. Yeah. Wow. Because I know somebody else that had one of my friends, a comedian, Dale Givens, her husband had to have a kidney transplant, and he had I know his eyes was yellow, and he had a lot of, stuff like that. And he almost died, but he got one and it saved his life.
That's amazing.
It is amazing how many people have major organ problems with kidneys, with liver, with heart. Heart is not as much like in this cases as us with kidney and liver, and they're not, somehow in the communication it's being downplayed, the severity of the problem.
Yeah.
Like they're missing. I'm like, dude, who sees somebody and doesn't say, Reginald, if you do not stop eating this way, you've got a dialysis chair in your future. Or doesn't say, hey, Lorrinda, you can't have another glass of wine. Skip the wine.
Instead of saying that it's
yeah,
not that bad,
it's not that bad. Like, don't give me a happy little report, so I'll leave your office and won't be unhappy. My life is on the line.
Right.
The quality of my life is on the line. You can't just, and I've heard, and I'm sure you've heard this, Lorrinda. Well, you tell me if you've heard the same thing. When I'm talking to scientists, because now we're in the advocacy world, and when we're talking to scientists, they will say, physician scientists, and they're saying this with completely sincere hearts. We don't want to upset people unnecessarily. When you tell people that this is what's in their future, it can really upset people. Upset me. Upset.
Yeah. Yeah, let you know. At least, let you know.
Like, yeah. And that was like, I literally have heard this over and over again from a sundry of different scientists across this country, and they're not, I want to make it clear, they are not trying to be condescending or crazy or anything. They don't want to create a problem for the patient. And I'm like, the patient has a problem. Like, we got a problem and we need to know how to fix it. Since you're the one that has the knowledge of what this is going to look like for me, I need to know. Like, don't sugarcoat this. It cannot be something where everybody's concerned with whatever it is that you think.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you. I remember when I first got diagnosed. Well, not when I first got diagnosed, but when I used to go to my doctor. And I remember he made impact. He said, "Well, you have to, watch your blood sugar." He said because it's already showing signs of, that is affecting your kidney. After that, and it was no more mention after that about, my kidney situation, where it progressed to, get worse. But I never really heard. Yeah, I never really heard anything else about it, So, yeah, I tell people the difference between a chiropractor and a medical doctor. You go to a chiropractor, like you go to a medical doctor, you tell him, "Doc, it hurts when I do this." He said, "We didn't do that." You go to a chiropractor, you tell them, "It hurt when I do this." The chiropractor say, "Well, look, first of all, you're not supposed to have any pain in your body." People think that they're supposed to walk around with, "Okay, that's supposed to hurt. I'm getting kind of older." Chiropractors tell you, "No, you're not supposed to have any kind of pain, any discomfort in your body, because if you do, that means something is off." So, they look at your vertebrae and they look at everything that connects, to the kidneys, to your heart, to liver and all that stuff. And they try to do adjustments, but, they are very specific and very detailed in your health more than a lot of these medical doctors, because medical doctor would tell you, like she said, it's nothing. It's, the first stages, they'll tell you, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's nothing," until it get down to that third stage and that fourth stage when they start, being more serious about it, when they should have been more serious about it at the first sign of it, because that's what a chiropractor do. As soon as you tell them you have pain, let's try to fix that, because you're not supposed to have pain every day in your body. That's not a natural thing. My chiropractor told me the only pain that you're supposed to have is at birth. After that, you shouldn't have pain in your body.
Yeah, Reg, I think that's an excellent example there, is that, this gets me frustrated, right? And I have a lot of rage around this particular issue of being treated like a snowflake. And I'm always like, what about me suggests that I'm a snowflake of any kind, right? And so it's a really big issue with me around people telling me what's wrong. And so with my body, so I can know the options and giving it to me straight, like what are possible outcomes. But oftentimes it's exactly what Tiffany described. They simply don't want, and you would be amazed when you sit down and we talk with them. They're like, "Well, I didn't want to upset that person."
Yeah.
So so that's a good spot to end this segment. And you've been listening to On the Record with Kevin and Tiffany on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, home of conservative talk radio.